How many decisions have you already made today? Should I get up now or sleep in a little longer? Should I hit snooze? Should I go to the gym? Should I keep studying for this certification? Should I apply for that job today or just wait until tomorrow? Should I finally hire a mentor or coach or just continue to wait? Should I keep going or is this just getting too hard? What if I told you one of the biggest reasons successful people stay consistent isn't because they're more disciplined? I think it's because they have fewer decisions to make. But before we get there, I think we have to challenge something we've all been told. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to keep making the same decision over and over and over again? Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow I'm going to start studying. Tomorrow I'm finally going to apply for those jobs. Tomorrow I'm actually going to write that blog that I've been talking about. Tomorrow I'm going to start taking my goals seriously. Then tomorrow arrives and life begins to life. The phone rings, a text message come through, a notification pops up. You tell yourself, I'll check this real quick. One episode of Netflix becomes three. One conversation becomes an hour. Maybe someone needs your help. Before you know it, the day is gone. I'm not here to shame you because I've lived that story more times than I care to admit. Every single time I end up asking myself the same question: why? Why did I waste so much time? Not because watching Netflix is wrong and not because answering the phone is wrong. It's because I knew I wanted to accomplish something and I let hundreds of small decisions quietly pull me away from the commitment I had made to myself. This past week reminded me that of again. Not catastrophe happened, nothing dramatic happened. It was simply one interruption after another, one delay after another, one unexpected change after another. Then something, oh man, something just clicked. I wasn't fighting distractions. I was fighting the temptation to renegotiate a decision I had already made. Here's a reflection, family. As I reflected on that week, I realized something. The distractions weren't the problem. The real battle was happening inside my own mind. Every interruption was asking the same question. Hey, ED. It laughed at me because it said, are we still going to do this? Not forever, just today. And if we're honest, that's exactly how distractions work. They rarely ask you to quit your dream. They simply ask you to postpone it. Then tomorrow, they ask again. And before you know it, you spend months negotiating with yourself instead of building the future you said you wanted. That realization forced me to rethink something I've heard for years. Principle number one: stop waiting for purpose and start walking. Let me be crystal clear and transparent with you, family. People love to tell you find your why. Matter of fact, I've even said find your why. I've even told people that there's a purpose behind finding your why. But I've come to realize something. You don't find your why or your purpose by sitting still and thinking about it. You find it by walking forward. You find it by taking action. You find it by showing up, failing, learning, adjusting, and showing up again. And for many of us, that journey doesn't begin because we suddenly discovered our purpose. It actually begins because we finally become sick and tired of being sick and tired. When we get tired of making excuses, when we get tired of settling, when we get tired of knowing we're capable of more while continuing to live beneath our potential. That's when something changes. Not because everything around us changes, because we do. And here's the part I wish more people talked about. I didn't wake up one morning knowing exactly what I was building. I didn't know where every step would lead me. I started, I experimented. Some things worked and some things didn't. I learned, I adjust, and then I did it again. Looking back now, I can see the path, but I couldn't see it standing at the beginning. Here's the lesson, family, I want you to think about. Sometimes purpose isn't what starts the journey. Sometimes the journey reveals your purpose. Oh, that's good, family. Here's two actual tips I'd love for you to experiment with. First, stop asking yourself, what's my purpose? Instead, ask yourself, what's one meaningful action I can take today? Second one, stop waiting for clarity before you move. Movement creates clarity far more often than clarity creates movement. Here's my professional advice. You don't think your way to purpose, you work your way to purpose. And once you begin moving, something interesting happens. You realize your future isn't built by one massive breakthrough, it's built by the small decisions you make when nobody is watching. Principle number 2, small decisions quietly shape big futures. Nobody wakes up intending to abandon their goals. Instead, they say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll do it this weekend. I'll check social media just for only 1 minute. I promise. I'll answer that text first. None of those decisions seem significant, but stack enough of them together and they quietly become your future. Success usually isn't built through one heroic moment. It's built by protecting ordinary moments. Oh, I like that, family, because every small decision, it casts another vote for the person you're becoming. Here's the lesson I want you to think about, family. Your future isn't determined by your biggest decisions, it's determined by your most repeated ones. Here's 2 actionable tips I love for you to experiment with. First, identify one distraction that consistently steals your attention. Don't try to eliminate everything. Second one, before switching tasks, ask yourself, is this moving me toward the life I want or simply away from discomfort? That one question alone can completely change your day. Here's my professional advice, family. One of the biggest leadership lessons I've learned is this: your future is rarely changed by one life changing decision. It's changed by the hundreds of ordinary decisions nobody else ever sees. People often overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. Why? Because they dismiss the small decision to study for another 30 minutes, the decision to make one more phone call, the decision to apply for one more job, the decision don't feel extraordinary in that moment, but over time, they quietly become your identity. Don't chase perfect days. Build consistent days because consistency has a way of taking ordinary decisions and producing extraordinary results. Oh, I like that, family. There's one final lesson that tied everything together for me. Even after I started taking action, even after I recognized the small decision, I realized I was still making one mistake. I kept reopening a decision that had already been made. Principle number 3, stop renegotiating your commitment. Think about how often we do this. We decide we're going to improve our health, then we renegotiate. We decide we're going to study, then we renegotiate again. We decide we're going to pursue a new career. Well, then we renegotiate. Imagine an airline pilot changing destinations every 20 minutes because the weather changed. We would never accept that. Yet many of us do exactly that with our lives. Every inconvenience causes us to question the destination instead of adjusting the route. Purpose doesn't remove obstacle, it reminds us why the destination still matters. Here's a lesson I want you to think about. Once you decided who you're becoming, not every distraction deserves another vote. Here's 2 actionable tips I love for you to experiment with. First, when life interrupts your plans this week, don't immediately ask, what should I do now? Instead, ask, has the destination changed? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Second, treat interruptions like detours. A detour changes route. It doesn't have to change the destination. Oh, I like that. I'm going to say that one more time. Treat interruptions like detours. A detour changes a route, it doesn't change the destination. Here's my professional advice, family. One of the biggest leadership lessons I've learned is this: the people who create extraordinary lives aren't necessarily the people with the fewest distractions. They're the people who stop renegotiating the decisions they've already made. They don't wait for perfect clarity. They create clarity through consistent action. Here's a final reflection, family. As I think back on the entire conversation, I realized the biggest lesson wasn't about purpose at all. It wasn't about movement. I stopped waiting for everything to make sense before taking the first step or even the next step. I started walking, I started learning, I started adjusting, and somewhere along this journey, the path became clearer than it ever could if I would have just stood still. Life is always going to interrupt you. There will always be another phone call, another notification, another delay, another reason to wait until tomorrow. But here's what I hope you'll remember: treat interruptions like detour. A detour changes the route, it doesn't have to change the destination. Here's my closing thoughts. Maybe the reason you've been feeling stuck isn't because you haven't found your purpose. Maybe you've been waiting for purpose before giving yourself permission to begin. Start walking, keep learning, keep adjusting. Hopefully, one day you'll look back and realize the path you couldn't see was being built with every step you chose to take today. And remember, sets and reps beat talent when talent doesn't do the reps. If you're new to the episode, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, hey, that just simply means Ed. Until next time.